I sometimes get a huge craving for biscotti when I'm at a coffee shop, so I decided it was time to make my own egg and dairy-free version. Now I don't feel quite as guilty eating 2 or 3 at one sitting. These are made with roasted hazelnuts, and if you don't have them, you can use almonds. For this recipe, you will need 3 cups of whole wheat pastry flour, 1½ cups of roasted hazelnuts, a teaspoon of salt, a tablespoon of baking powder, a teaspoon of vanilla, 2/3 cup of liquid sweetener. This is a mixture of agave nectar and maple syrup, a 1/4 cup of applesauce, a 1/4 cup of safflower oil, and for the chocolate dipping sauce, you'll need 1 tablespoon of safflower oil and 10 to 12 ounces of dairy-free chocolate chips. You'll also need a couple of baking mitts, a large cookie sheet, a cooling rack. I like using a pair of tongs, but you'll also need a couple of spatulas, a rubber scraper, a couple of wooden spoons, a sharp knife and a cutting board, a second bowl. For melting your chocolate chips, either use a double boiler, or I'm going to use a saucepan with about 1/2 inch of water in it that I'll place my heat-proof bowl over so that the chocolate chips will melt. Preheat the oven to 350 degrees. Coarsely chop the hazelnuts. Mix the flour, the baking powder, the salt, and the nuts. In the other bowl, mix the sweetener, the oil, the vanilla, and the applesauce. Mix the wet ingredients into the dry ingredients. It's going to be a very stiff dough. To finish mixing it, I use my hands. When all the flour is mixed in, you're ready to put it on the cookie sheet. Divide the dough in half and form it into 2 loaves about 3 inches wide. Finish them to about 1/2 inch tall. Bake for 30 minutes until it's slightly dry. Take them out of the oven and using both spatulas, gently put them on a cooling rack until they're cool enough to touch. Slice into 1-inch pieces and then put them back on the cookie sheet. Place them back in the oven and bake for 15 to 20 minutes until crispy and golden brown. While they're baking the second time, melt the chocolate. You don't want to overheat the chocolate, so bring the water to a boil and lower it to a simmer, and then stirring gently, make sure all the chocolate chips are melted. Take them out of the oven and put them on a cooling rack. Dip the biscotti into the chocolate, then place upside down until they're completely cooled. Store in freezer bags indefinitely or in a sealed container for up to 2 weeks, if they last that long. This goes great with tea, hot chocolate, or a fresh cup of coffee.